A weak economy, volatile markets, but is everything really as bad as it seems? Or could negative sentiment and overall fear be what's bogging down the economy, or at least making it worse? Here to weigh in is Doug Hirschhorn, DrDoug.com CEO. He's also an expert in market psychology. Also with us is Rhea Hederman, Senior Policy Analyst at the Heritage Foundation. We have Zach Karabell as well. Okay, guys, I'm not saying that things aren't bad. I mean, clearly they are. You see retail sales fell by 2.8%. Businesses have cut about 1.2 million jobs since the beginning of the year. It's bad. But there are a lot of people out there who maybe aren't affected, who hear, media reports and everything else about how bad it is, and they're slowing down their own spending, even though really their own families haven't been affected. Is it possible that we're making things worse? Doug, let me ask you.
I definitely think that we are making things worse. I think that people are feeling afraid. They're feeling betrayed. They feel that there's so much uncertainty involved that they're looking for leadership. And as a result, the markets are reflecting that. And that's why we're seeing such tremendous volatility without any good fundamental reason.
Ray, I apologize for getting your name wrong. What do you think?
That's quite okay. Well, I think there are absolutely good reasons for people to be concerned. We know that we have a very soft labor market, one of the softest in 15 years. We know that after the 2001 recession, the labor market continued to weaken for another 2 years. So I think people are rightfully concerned about their jobs. I think the other thing is people are saving for the first time. I think that's probably very prudent as people are taking a look at the macroeconomy and saying, I simply can't continue the same spending habits that I have in the past. And so, yes, that puts pressure on the economy, but it's a very rational concern for people to have.
So, Zach, people are saying, I haven't lost my job yet, but it's possible that I could, so I should stop spending even though nothing has really changed. It is accelerating the decline, though.
It is. I mean, on Doug's point, it's sort of afraid, betrayed, and frayed. And there's a risk that people are going to start creating their own little financial bomb shelters into which they're going to retreat and hope to wait out the storm. And while that may be somewhat rational at any individual level, it obviously becomes collectively highly detrimental. Usually sentiment and consumer sentiment numbers tell you absolutely nothing about what consumer behavior is actually going to be. The problem is September and October clearly was one of these moments where everything just ground to a halt. The credit system froze, consumers panicked, the market crashed. The question is, does that continue on a straight line forward? And I think the danger is everyone starts with that now as the new reset and extrapolates outward and then says everything is terrible. That can have a feedback mechanism whereby everybody just feels like, okay, the world's coming to an end and I'm going to hunker down.
Yeah.
And that may happen, but it hasn't happened yet. I think there is a danger that we talk ourselves into it.
Doug, as a psychologist, so for the first time in a long time, sentiment and behavior are finally aligned. How long do you think Americans can help themselves? Because let's face it, I mean, we are a society of real consumers. We do not save well. So maybe you're scared right now. If things start to get better, I mean, most recessions, or at least the last one, lasted 8 months. We're at least 4 months into it because we've already had our first quarter of negative GDP. Is there a chance that we'll forget about it and we'll start behaving like spenders again anytime soon?
I think what people need to realize is that it's cyclical. And you need to prepare and start preparation right now. You need to start to formulate game plans as far as your investment philosophy, as far as your future. And even though the future might be unknown in a clear image, we are having some clear and beneficial things that can help our economy with how people are thinking and feeling. Like President Obama, President-elect Obama, there are some very confident, overwhelming feelings coming through with the world. You saw it on TV today. They're talking about his product selling. If people want his face, it's like the new face of hope. And right now, that's what people really need. They need hope. They need confidence. Things are being put in place. We don't know if they're going to work.
Yeah.
But having a plan is better than having no plan at all.
Ray, is there any chance that confidence returns? Let me give you two stats. The national average for a gallon of gasoline, $2.22. That's the lowest price we've seen in 12 months. Mortgage demand was up almost 12% over the past week. So some people are going out there and getting mortgages at least and taking advantage of how low housing prices are, or moving because of necessity, either way.
Right. I think the lower gas prices is great because it helps put money back in the consumer's pocket. But, feelings are wonderful, but reality is a different story. Americans feel poor because they are poor. We know that most Americans, their biggest assets, their house. We know that most Americans are definitely poorer than they were 2 years ago. So this is putting pressure on them, on their pocketbooks. They want to save because they're poor.
Okay.
They're scared about the future because we know that the job market is going to continue to weaken. I mean, if you look at some of the forecasts going off, companies aren't planning to hire back layoffs. Other projections show that the economy is going to be continued the next couple of months. So these are very rational concerns people have when they're taking a look at how much their savings, what's happened to their mutual funds, what's happened to their houses. And so we can hope that things like the gasoline might spin consumers and spur them back to the marketplace. But, I mean, they have real bottom-line pocketbook issues.
So if people don't want to go hide in their economic bomb shelter, or you do want to hide, but you want to make good investments while you're doing it, what's the best way to ride this out? What do you think? Zach, I'll start with you. What's a good move that you can make right now?
I mean, first of all, most spending at the end of the day, in spite of all the punditry about it, is really about income. And there were clearly a lot of people who are living well beyond their income, but in some sense, the smaller portion that was doing a lot of that distorted the overall picture. And we tend to lose sight of that in these moments. You know, you could look back 40 years, people were worried about debt levels. It's not a new thing. It's an old cultural thing. I think the reality is you look at your income and you look at what you have, and you clearly then, when it comes to investing in the markets, that's the short-term, long-term. If you are worried about the short-term, there's absolutely no reason to be in this market. If you have some conviction that systemically we're going to muddle our way through this, both nationally and globally, this may be an absolutely great time to get into the market. But that's, I think, a very personal decision.
Okay. All right, we've got to leave it there. Thanks to all of you for joining.